When we get to Daniel chapter 7, 8, and through 12, we're dealing with visions. We've stopped dealing with history per se. And so we're putting these visions together, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to give all the different perspectives and all the different, theories, hypothesis of what this means. Basically, we're supposed to read it, see it, and then kind of wait and see it. It's really future tense, and he gives us some information about what the interpretations are, but he doesn't give probably as many as we would like. But we're supposed to know this, and we're supposed to see this, and when we see it, we'll see it. It's like something that you haven't seen yet. Many times when the apostles would look back into the scriptures, they would see Jesus in scriptures that they knew, but now they're seeing it fresh. It's like, oh my gosh, he was born in Bethlehem, Ephraim. Oh my gosh, he was killed with transgressors. Oh my gosh, his garments weren't, cut up, just like it says the garments would not be cut up. All these little flavorings that will prove Messiah. Many of these that are coming up, maybe we will see, maybe the adroit Bible believer will see these as they come. Some of these have already come. The Bible gives us the information we need. Maybe not, like I said, all the information we want. This was in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon. Now, again in the timeline, we had Nebuchadnezzar, 9 months of Evil-Merodach, then Belshazzar. And Belshazzar went for about 12 years. And then we had the handwriting on the wall, the fall of Babylon, the governance of the Medo-Persians, and then came, of course, the Daniel in the lion's den kind of thing. We are at the beginning of Belshazzar, so we're like a decade away from the fall, give or take. So he says in the first year, well, not give or take, it is more than a decade. It says in the first year of Belshazzar, he has this dream. And he gets up and writes the dream. And he's going to tell us the dream, but the dream is, again, for future tense. He saw in his vision that the four winds strove on the great sea. So the winds are curling. It's like a hurricane curling in the seas and pulling these things out of the sea. Many people will speculate that the sea means humanity, that these things come out of humanity that is brought up by the winds. We tend to think that a lot of things were happening to us, geopolitical or random, or there's some sort of cabal, but above that, God will move this. He's moving chess pieces so that Israel will call out for him. He will come and rescue them. He will show himself King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he will come down, take care of the enemies of Israel once and for all. So he does stir up nations. He does bring up kings. Many of the things that we see in our headlines may be tied to that. But the winds stir up the sea, stirs up the people. And four great beasts come out of it, diverse from one another. And many people have tried to say, well, the first beast has an eagle, so that's America. And the second beast has a bear, that's Russia. And they try to draw those. Let's be careful. For the next 4 chapters, these are some of the least biblically described chapters. So we have to be careful that we aren't stepping into too much inference, too much speculation, too much assumption. Let it say what it's going to say, and let us see it and try to hold some of that at bay. If it tells us, for example, the first one was like a lion with eagle's wings, and I beheld the wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and it stood on the feet of man, and it had a man's heart. What does that mean? It means exactly what it says. Now, how we interpret that and how we try to draw that something geopolitical, we need to be careful. To say that that's America, or that's this Belgium, or that's Sweden, or we tend to, unfortunately, try to stand on information that we don't have yet. This is the end of my Bible. To understand Daniel, and we really need to look at stuff at the beginning of our Bible. This is the stuff that helps us understand this. And if it doesn't, then maybe we're to leave it. Maybe God will give us the insight when we will see, oh, that makes sense. There was a lion that had eagle's wings, but the wings were plucked out. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe we'll see it later. Some people will connect this with the 4 horsemen. That's possible. I'm not going to say yes or no on that. But we need to be careful that we're not letting the end define the middle. The middle should help us understand the end. So that's all he tells us about the first beast, and I'm not going to speculate on what it could be. I'm going to leave that open. That's something for us to dig out, to glean, and maybe we will see something like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. That nation was like a lion, but it got ripped apart, and its wings were taken off, and it was lifted up from the earth, and it stood on a man's feet. So it's not a lion anymore. Now it's a man. Maybe we'll see something like that. A second beast rose up, and it was like a bear, and it rose up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth. Once again, I've heard lots of speculation on what that could be. I'm just going to tell you, in this imagery, it's a bear with ribs in its mouth, and it devoured much flesh. What does that mean? It means that when that rises up, it devours much flesh. Now, this may be things that we're to see in the last days that we haven't seen yet. And then there was a leopard. And some people are trying to say, well, this is Greek and this is this and this is this. I'm going to be very careful. He does do that in chapter 8. He calls in chapter 8. He says, well, this is Medo-Persian, this is Greeks. But he leapfrogs from Greece to the end times. So let the Bible interpret the Bible. So he saw the leopard, and behold, it was like a leopard, and it had 4 wings like a fowl, and it had 4 heads, and it was given dominion over everything. Some people say, well, this is Alexander the Great, and he had 4 kingdoms, blah, blah. Not going to say no. I'm just going to withhold stating with a surety what I think it might be, because guess what? What I think doesn't matter what it says. And there was a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. So maybe we're just given those other 3 as an example. And now we've got this 4th beast. And it is so terrible that he cannot describe it. It is dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly. It has great iron teeth. It devours and breaks in pieces and stamps the residue with its feet. So the residue seems to destroy these other 3 beast systems. So whatever those beast systems are, you get the idea here that the 4th beast grinds those into dust. Those are in the powder, the residue thereof. And it was diverse among all the beasts, and before it had 10 horns. These horns are rulers, or ruling classes. They may be people, they might be governments. Many times we see where the governors, like Nebuchadnezzar, and these people will be considered like horns. And behold, there was a little horn that was plucked up, that there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots, and behold, this horn was giving the eyes of a man and a mouth speaking great things. So we see maybe this is the rising of some sort of person out of a governmental. And again, I'm trying very desperately not to interpret this very strongly. You have these horns, and horns are known from back here as being part of a government, having a horn, having a power. And horns are always symbolized of power. And so he has this. And I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow. Now we're going really end times here. This has already been talked about, it's been mentioned kind of in Isaiah and a little bit in Jeremiah. Ancient of Days, of course, is God, whose garment is white as snow, and his hair was of pure wool, and his throne was as fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. We've seen this kind of imagery before of God. And to be fair, not to jump ahead too much, we see this similar imagery also in Revelation. I'm going to maintain that Revelation references this. It's not that this references Revelation, because Revelation is written much later. So we have to be careful what we use as our touchstones. And a fiery stream came forth from him, and 10,000s ministered to him, and 10,000s times 10,000 stood before him, and judgment was set, and the books were opened. Trying desperately to stay out of Revelations here, but does this sound a lot like Revelation 21? 20 and 21. And I beheld, and there was a voice of the great horn spoke, and beheld, And I beheld even till the beast was slain and its body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Okay, sounds again like what we know. As concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So he takes away the power of these nations. The idea that when Messiah comes, when Jesus comes, he'll take away. And again, trying hard to stay out of Revelation. It's very hard to do. Because I want to see, how would a Jew read this? How would a Jew at that time, how would someone who's sitting at this time at the first year of Belshazzar, how would he interpret this? See, that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm really trying hard to see, well, how would I, if I heard Daniel telling me this revelation, what would my takeaway be? And so I would probably have to forego a complete conclusionary understanding to go, okay, you saw the vision, it was this, it was this, it was this, you saw this one, it was this, it was this, it was this, and not try to, well, let me rabbit trail east and west to figure it out. Need to be very careful with that. He does say, and he saw in his night visions, one like the Son of Man came in the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and brought him near him, and he was given dominion and glory over all the people and the nations and the language would serve him. His dominion was an everlasting dominion. We saw that alluded to in Ezekiel. I'm trying only to look back and see. Many of us that are very New Testament oriented start going, yeah. I'm not saying those connections aren't true. What I'm trying to stick to is, what connection would I make? And so he's given this dominion over all of these, and the kingdom shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my bodies, and I came near to one of them to know the interpretation. It says, these beasts that are four kings that shall rise out of the earth. Okay, good. That helps us out as, people standing around Daniel at the time of the first year of Belshazzar. If you were to say we're the captives, I'm putting us back in time a little bit. And you shall know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse among all the others. It was exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth was as iron, nails as brass, and to devour it and break into pieces and stamp the residue with his feet. Seems like this interpretation doesn't spend a lot of time on the first three, but he goes to the fourth. And the 10 horns that were in his head, and the other of which came, and before 3 fell, and this other horn spoke great things and abominations, and behold, the same horn made war with the saints. And we see the word saints there, we tend to think New Testament Christians. Well, the saints at that time were the believing Jews, and still are. We are grafted in. I mean, we are considered grafted in believing Jews, by God, because we are grafted in, and we are put in, and we have been adopted. If you had got adopted to someone, you would take their name and their ethnicity, and you would be like a born son. I beheld, and that same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. We see this going, against the Jews, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given unto the saints of the Most High. He said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom upon the earth. Now, it might be we've never had a big kingdom, not like Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, Rome was spread out. Rome was powerful. But we probably never saw a kingdom like Babylon since Babylon. And the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom upon the earth, and shall be diverse among all the other kingdoms. You get the idea also that it might be fourth in line. You had one kingdom was the lion, one kingdom was, and I'm not going to go back to say, well, this was the Ottoman Empire, and this was Nazi Germany, and this was, Russia. Let's just say that there were 3 mighty kingdoms, but one great kingdom comes out of it. That's the kingdom we're focusing on in chapter 7. And he'll grind up the others. He'll be more powerful than these others ever thought they could be. And the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom upon the earth, and shall be diverse among all the other kingdoms, shall devour the whole earth. We've had no kingdom devour the whole earth. Probably even, I would give Rome maybe a pass. Maybe one of those was Rome. I'm not going to argue this too far to the mat. But no kingdom has run the entire world yet, but we see this end time. This could be an end time kingdom, and the 10 horns out of the kingdom with 10 kings that arise, And another shall arise after them, and shall be more diverse from them, and shall subdue 3 kings. And he, now we're dealing singularly, and he will speak great words against the Most High. So now we're really focusing in. This is the important guts. It could be he passes by 3 kingdoms. Okay, this kingdom's this kingdom's that, this kingdom. Now, wait a minute. And now the core is we're talking about this person here. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and wear out the saints of the Most High, and think the chains, times, and laws, and they shall be given unto his hand until a time and the times and the dividing of times. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy unto the end. He will not destroy until the end. And so he talks about, and the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints. Then everything flips the script. All of that power will now be given to the kingdom of the saints. Who are the saints? The Israel nation, the believing Israel nation. And I'm not sure where we fit in all of this. I'm not going to sit and say that the saints are us. We tend to not exactly sure sometimes as Christians of where we exactly fit in this. Maybe we don't fit in this. We were kind of known as a mystery. We were something that wasn't really revealed. That's what a mystery is. It's something that wasn't solidly revealed. We get the idea that he was going to open the door to the Gentiles from Abraham. All the nations of the world would be blessed. And from David, when he becomes a king, he's a king of the whole world. And then that kingdom was opened up, of course, what we know is as the death of Christ. But here we have this. Judgment shall sit, and the kingdoms and the dominions and the greatness of this kingdom, of this new kingdom, shall be given here. And so it's given. This kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. There's a new him coming. First you have this one him, this one he that's mentioned here, and he is cast down, and there's another him that will be leading this and have dominion. Now again, for those Jews that were sitting by the river, who were sitting, it's all been destroyed. Maybe they've heard a little bit about Ezekiel. In fact, I'll have to see. Ezekiel would have written his stuff by now. But the idea is that he's given these prophecies to help the Jewish nation understand the future. If he runs past stuff that's kind of circumspect, that's okay. It's kind of like you don't really kind of need to know these 3, but we need to hone in on the 4th, hone in on this person, and guess what? Hone in on the fact that you will be giving a dominion again with a leader who is a he. And who is this he? The servant David. Who is this he? The Messiah. Who is this he? It's Jesus. It all comes together. This is really good stuff. Thank you.